to studying the internal details of 8085. So just to remind you again that as we know that it is a good practice whenever we meet a human being, maybe in our work settings or in our college settings or maybe in our social settings, right? To be able to know a human being, first of all, we have a basic interaction with that human being, right? So, for example, you might socially meet, and then you might, if it is an office setting, you might be exchanging ideas about how to develop our work, etc. So, from that, you get an estimate of how compatible that person is professionally with you, so that you can team up and work, right? So, that's what we are trying to achieve. Before studying the intricate details, intricate hardware construction of 8085 microprocessor, that is its architecture, before studying its architecture, etc., and more internal details, we are just trying to play with the microprocessor first so that we have some idea of how this microprocessor behaves. And then, after taking one or two small sessions on simple programs, we will delve into the architecture and the internal construction and some more advanced things that needs to be addressed in 8085, right? So that is the whole sequence of events that is happening. So up till now, we have seen the introduction to microprocessor, and then in the second lecture, we have introduced the programming model, right? So that programming model was this, and in today's lecture, we are going to study further simple programs, right? So this is the programming model. Again, just to remind you, we have got all 8-bit registers and some 16-bit registers, right? And one flag register, which has got individual bits which are used to indicate the status of events that have just happened in the microprocessor. By just happened, I mean to say that the result of the last executed command is flagged in all this, right? Whatever the last command has done to the complete programming model or the architecture of microprocessor, appropriate flags will be raised or taken down. Raised means their value will be made 1, or otherwise they will be made 0. 8085 happens to be a 8-bit microprocessor primarily because it has got data bus which is of 8 bits, right? So it is a 8-bit bidirectional line and its accumulator is also of 8 bits. So primarily, since the data bus is of 8 bits, 8085 is a 8-bit microprocessor, and the secondary reason is that accumulator is of 8 bits. So in the last lecture sessions, we have seen some simple programs in the last lecture session as well as laboratory of how to deal with these internal registers by using move commands, etc. What is the role of this stack pointer? What is the role of this program counter, etc. Not the stack pointer. So the aim of today's lecture is to see some small programs concerning this complete flag register. We will see this. We will see some small programs of which will deal with these individual flag bits, and the whole sole point is that there are some meanings which are associated to these. For example, carry flag is just not used for indicating that there is a carry out of the most significant bit in any two registers which are added. It is also used to indicate borrow, right? So carry carries 3 meanings, as you will see in this particular lecture. One meaning is that it is used to indicate the usual thing, that is carry out of the MSB position. Similarly, for subtraction, we do not have carry. For subtraction, we have borrow. So in that case, this carry flag will also be set if a borrow is taken, right, from the most significant bit. And also, this carry will have a combined meaning together with sign flag when we will perform subtractions, such that the number which is being subtracted is actually having a larger magnitude than the number from which it is subtracted. So we will see that carry is used in third context with that. So similarly, individually, this parity, auxiliary carry, zero flag, and sign flag, they have got their individual meanings and interpretations in various circumstances. And to be able to do programming, we need to understand them in depth. So the first thing is the carry flags, etc., will be studied in depth in this particular lecture. The second thing is, in the last lecture and lab, we have seen that HL register pair can be used as a pointer. With which register? HL register
M
pair.
register.
M register, very nice. So with M register, it can be used as a pointer. Now, the next thing that we are going to explore is, since this B and C register, D and E register, they are also written in pairs. Is there also some special purpose which is assigned to them? Yes, there is also some special purpose which is assigned to them, which is similar to the HL register pair. That is, HL register pair can be used with M register as a pointer. Similarly, BC and DE pairs, they can also be used to achieve the same task that HL register has been achieving, but not with M register, but with accumulator register. And here we won't call them as pointer registers. I mean, we won't say that DE register pair can hold the address of something, and A register will automatically contain the value that is placed at that address, right? So this automatically word underline. A register will not automatically have that. There is a special command which we will use to fetch the data that is kept at the address which is placed in DE or BC register into the accumulator. So that will be done through command. Means even after placing the address in DE register pair or BC register pair, there are specific commands by using which the data can be loaded into the accumulator register, or it can be transferred from the accumulator register to the external memory. So here things will not happen automatically. However, in the case of HL register, when we had kept some address inside HL register, in that case, the data will automatically come to the memory register. So is this difference understood?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so that's what we are also going to see. This is the second topic that we are going to explore in this particular lecture. And the third topic is we will be taking some special programs where we will see how to make loops. Although we have seen how to make loops in the previous laboratory session, but I will formalize things and I will introduce some kinds of conditional and unconditional jump statements, right? So these three objectives will be fulfilled in this lecture. This is a fairly easy and simple lecture if you pay attention to it. And all the programming concepts that we will develop will help you write big programs, since you're already aware of the course on algorithms, design and analysis of algorithms. So later in the course, we will try to develop some artificial intelligence algorithms, and we will try to implement over this particular microprocessor. Okay, so before beginning the today's lecture, let me ask you a fun question. Do you believe that by using this microprocessor, you will be able to browse the internet?
No, sir.
No, why no?
No, sir.
See, because they work in the computer only,
Be- Because?
CPU only. They are not connected with other devices.
No, assuming that you have a microcomputer system. You have a microcomputer system where this 8085 is attached as the microprocessor of that system. You have all the other peripherals available to you. Then is it possible to browse internet or maybe install the some kind of software so that you can achieve some tasks like you do in the regular PCs? What do you believe should happen? Is the answer no or yes?
So we can use other device internet to access this controller microcomputer.
Okay, see, uh, the answer is yes. Why? Because it's again a microprocessor and it is placed inside a microcomputer. So, whatever task you name, be it browsing the internet or suppose it is running a software, everything can be done inside this microprocessor. Because ultimately, what are the applications that we do on any computer? The applications that we do ultimately they are software program, they are a sequence of instructions. So this microprocessor in theory is capable of doing anything that you do with today's computers. Then what is the difference between this microprocessor and the other microprocessor? I mean the modern microprocessors. The difference is in operational speed and frequency. So we will come to that when we will formally study the architecture. But for the time being, let us understand this fact that the microprocessor that we have is only slow as compared to the microprocessor that we have today in today's computers. Although it is capable of doing every task that you are able to do with these current microprocessors. Is it understood?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so with some simple illustrations, I will illustrate first of all this your flag register bits first of all, and I have already got some pre-written programs with some descriptions. So I will show you those slides, and we will try to study those first. So whatever you see inside these red boxes is not a part of the software. I have written all of this for to enhance your understanding, right? So this is the short program, and all of you are, I guess, aware of this programming architecture or programming model of 8086 as we have practiced in yesterday's lab. Now, so first of all, we are going to study the carry flag. In this architecture, you can see that carry is the least significant bit of the flag register, and we are first of all paying attention to that. Now, in this simple program, what I have done is, first of all, let us understand it through a simple example that we are taking. So I have taken two 8-bit numbers. This is 1010, 1010, which means AA in hexadecimal. Similarly, I have taken another number in hexadecimal as 70. In binary, it will be 0111, which stands for 7, and all zeros, which stand for 0. Right? So these two numbers are there. And what I am going to do is, I am going to add these two numbers. I am going to add these two numbers. After adding these two numbers, you can see that in binary, this is number 1, this is number 2. If you will add it, you can verify it for yourself that there will be a carry out of this position, because here 1 and 1 will be added. So 0 will be the answer, and there will be a carry out of this position. So in this case, the carry flag should be set. So for this, I am making a simple program, and the program is fairly simple. Just AA should be put in some register, 70 should be put in some register, and they should be added. So here the program is fairly simple, MVI A, 0 AAH. Now we will discuss why this 0 appears here in the picture. Then second data, MVI B, 70H. So these both numbers AA and 70 have been taken in A and B registers. They are added through this command ADDB. So in 8085, as we have discussed in the last laboratory, that accumulator will play the role of being the default register for many commands, as well as it will hold the result of many calculations. So even if you write add commands, and in theory for addition you should have two things to add, here you see the command as ADDB only. So B is by default added with A register, and whatever is the result, it is again put into the A register back. So the command that you write here is ADDB, and simply the system is halted. So this is what the simple program is. But here there is one point to note, that before this number AA, I have kept an additional 0. Now, why have I done this? So you can tell me what is the range of numbers in hexadecimal system. I mean, if you talk about decimal system, we have numbers from 0 to 9, and then we use their combinations like 10, 11, 12, and so on. So in hexadecimal number system, what is the basic numbers that you have?
0 to 15.
0 to
15.
15 means 1, 5.
No, sir. After 9, it is A, B, C, D, E, and F.
Yeah, so you have numbers from 0 to 9, and then from A to F. F is not 15 there, right? F is actually F. It's not 15. 1515 is something else in hexadecimal, right? So you should be very clear about it. We do not have numbers from 0 to 15. We have numbers from 0 to 9, and then from A to F. 15 in hexadecimal is not 15 in decimal, right? So we have those many numbers there. Now you can notice that in those numbers 0 to 9, they are already digits, but the numbers from A to F, they are not digits, right? So it is a convention in this software that if you begin writing a number, it should always start with a numeric value. But A is not a numeric value, it's a alphabet, right? So to tell the system, to tell the 8085 simulator that whatever is written is a number, you should begin it with a 0. So this is a convention. If you don't put it, I mean, it's not a convention, it's a requirement. If you don't put this 0, this AA will not be treated as a number. So you have to make sure that whenever you write a number which begins with a letter, it has to be starting with 0 only, right? So for that reasons it is written. And after the execution of this complete program, the status is shown here. So you can see that after these two numbers are added, the result is something which we have already calculated. So what will be the result in hexadecimal? Can somebody read that from me, from these bits that you see on the screen? The results hexadecimal equivalent will be 1A. Simply it will be 1A and there is a carry out of the MSB. So you can simply see here that the result is 1A and there is a carry out of the most significant position. That is why this carry flag has been set, right? So in the result, can you notice the number of ones? It is 3. It is 3 already. So what should be the status of parity flag? Parity flag has to be 0, right?
0.
So whenever 0 because the number of bits, the number of ones in accumulator and parity combined should be odd after execution of any command. After execution of any command. So this is very important, right? And this is not true for the data movement instructions. For example, inside the accumulator, if you move some data which has got even number of bits, that won't set the parity bit as 1, right? But if something is calculated, in that case, the parity bit will be only set to 1. So it's not true with the movement instructions, right? For example, here you see in this, we have moved a value of AA. And here you see in this AA's binary equivalent, you have even number of ones. So when you will execute this statement, you should not say that the parity bit will become 1 after the execution of this statement, because this is not affected by the data movement instructions. Only after calculations, this parity bit is updated, right? So are these two concepts understood? These are fairly simple. Are these understood?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Am
Sir,
I teaching? Yeah, tell me. Yeah.
sir, before AA, we can put any digit or only 0?
No, only 0, because if you will put any other digit, it will make it a different number. If you append 0 before certain number, the number essentially remains the same.
But sir, A register is of only 8 bit, then outside that will be ignored.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah, this is also very good point for asking and clarifying that A register is of only 8 bits. So how is 0AA accommodated in that? So please understand that this 0 is not for storage. It is only to indicate to this software that this AA that is preceding that is a number. It is not a part of the data. It is just to tell this editor and this software that this AA, whatever it is written, I mean 2 bytes written after 0 will be treated as a number and they will be stored in accumulator, not this 0, right? Understood?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Am I teaching very easy things to you? Yes or no? I mean, are the things very trivial for you to understand?
No, sir.
No, sir. I mean, you are able to perform the experiments that we have done on the last lab, na?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
I mean, the course is, you are able to understand the course, right?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
The thing is, I am beginning very slow and with very minimal concepts, because as soon as the lecture progresses, you will see that the course will get fairly complex, not in the terms of understanding, but the small things that you are seeing here will build up very large things. And if you miss these lectures in sequence, I mean, there is a possibility of people getting lost. So even if you haven't seen my previous lectures, the recorded version are already available on Microsoft Teams. So please see them. They are very easy to see and you will be able to do everything by yourself if you just see those lectures, right? Now, coming to the next program. Okay, this is something that coming to the next program where we are going to discuss the auxiliary carry. Here I haven't, auxiliary carry we are going to discuss, and this is the example that we are considering. Now here you can see we have taken two numbers. First is 0A the binary equivalent happens to be all four zeros and 1010. And for 09, we have 1001 because 9 means 1001 in binary. Now, as earlier I have told you, the group of bits have been given special names. If there are 4 bits in a group, we call it as nibble. If there are 8 bits in a group, we call it as byte. If there are 16 bits in a group, we call it as word. If there are 32 bits in a group, then we call it as a double word, right? So these are the names given to the special group of bits. So auxiliary carry, when we talk about auxiliary carry, the main concern is with nibble, right? That is a group of 4 bits. So on the screen, you see 2 numbers, and we are simply going to add them the way we just added the 2 numbers now. And the concern here is if there is a carry out of the lower nibble, I mean, if you see this lower nibble is these 4 bits for both of the numbers. This is the lower nibble. And out of this number, if there is a carry, that means out of this position number 3, this is the position number 0, position number 1, position number 2, and position number 3. So out of this position number 3, if there is a carry to the 4th position, then we call that as an auxiliary carry, and the auxiliary carry flag will be set if that carry exists there. Otherwise, it will be reset. Now we will discuss the reason for existence of auxiliary carry, but before that, let us see a simple program which implements this, adding numbers 0A and 09. So here you have numbers 0A and 09, and you have added them both simply and halted the system. And you can see that whenever they are added, you get a number 13 as the result, because after addition, the result happens to be this. So 0001 is 1 and this is 3. 13 is the result, but the auxiliary carry flag is set. Why? Because if you see the addition, you do it by yourself, you will definitely get a carry at this particular position, right? So auxiliary carry flag is set. Now, could you explain what is the reason for having this auxiliary carry in a computer which is 8-bit computer? What could be the possible usage? I mean, carry, we understand that if there is a carry out from the MSB, then carry flag should be set to indicate that the result actually that is present in accumulator is not complete and there has been a carry out of that position, so that should be considered. Similarly, we can also understand parity. It is used for communication purposes. So what is the use of auxiliary carry? Can somebody make a guess?
Sir, is it like higher and lower?
Higher and lower. See, in 8085 microprocessor, we will seldom use it in the fashion of a 4-bit register. I mean, then what is the point? It's a 8-bit microprocessor, so we will be doing 8-bit calculations.
Okay, sir.
Anyone else wants to make a guess?
We can check that the carry is coming from which position.
No, but auxiliary carry only says it for the position which is out of the lower nibble. So why are we discriminating with other positions? I mean, there could be carry from any position. I mean, when you add 2 numbers, there could be carry occurring from any position. So why this position is so special? Okay, I'll give you a hint. Not hint, I will actually give you the answer. The thing is, when at the time when this 8-bit computer came, there were already microprocessors which were 4-bit microprocessors. So most of the peripherals that were designed for those 4-bit microprocessors, they were designed keeping in mind the compatibility with only 4-bit microprocessors, because at some point of time, 4-bit microprocessor happened to be the best ones. For example, today we have i9 in Intel series, which is the best commercial device to use. So similarly, at the time when there was a time when 4-bit computers were most widely used, and the devices which were manufactured by various vendors, they were compatible to 4-bit only. So now you have got a computer which is 8-bit. So it should not be useless because it is more modern as compared to the 4-bit computer. But the 4-bit peripherals which were available, they will take some time to upgrade them to become 8-bit compatible. So till then, the older devices should also be used with the modern computers. And these older devices had a habit of transferring data in form of 4 bits or adding or subtracting in form of 4 bits. So to maintain that compatibility, this auxiliary carry was introduced. Is it now understood why this auxiliary carry exists inside 8085 system? Yes or no?
Sir, how 4-bit devices are made compatible with this?
See, when a 4-bit device is connected to 8085 system, it would expect every calculation in the form of 4-bit. Every data transfer will be there in the form of 4-bit. So for data transfer, there is no problem. We can put all the first things as 0 and rest of the data can be copied. I mean, from the lower nibble, it could be copied to the external device, that we will see how that input output operation happens, right? But if some calculation is done and the result is to be supplied to the external device, suppose addition is to be done and the result is to be supplied to the external device, and that external device can only accept 4 number of bits, but we also need to tell that there has been a carry out of the 4th position. So that is why this auxiliary carry is there. We will separately copy this auxiliary carry after sending the data to tell the external device that the result that you have got has overflown and there is a carry out of the last position of your MSB, not my MSB, my nibble's MSB. Understood?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
So it's a very trivial thing. I mean, it's just a piece of information that I have conveyed to you, but we will be using it in future to build up some big programs. So this is about auxiliary carry, right? Then we have got zero flag. It's very simple to understand that this there will be some data which is equal in 2 registers A and B, and you use the subtract command SUBB, and the data of B will be subtracted from A, right? And the results, you can see that accumulator will hold a value of 00, but here you see that the 0 flag will be set as well as the parity flag will be set, because SUBB is a calculation based instruction. So after the 0 flag has been set, this parity flag will also be set, because accumulator now contains no ones and we want to have odd number of ones. So this is as simple as that. So this is 0 flag, right? So wait a minute. Yeah, after this 0 flag, let us come to the parity flag. So parity flag is something that you already know. 2 numbers are there, 05 and 03. They are to be subtracted. 5 will be subtracting 3, and the result will be 2. The number of ones in binary representation of 2 is even. The number of ones in binary representation of this is even. So after subtraction, you should get your parity flag as set. So have I executed this or not? No, I don't think so. That is why this parity flag is not set as 1, right? So this is again a fairly simple concept here. So you have understood, let me start from the very beginning, the carry flag.
Sir,
yeah.
Binary of 2, in binary of 2, there is odd number of ones, right?
Wait a minute, the binary representation of 2 will be 1, 0. Yeah, that is true. So
That's why parity is not set.
That's why parity is not set. I believe that it is odd numbered and I have not executed the program because this is the screenshot of that. But then again, it was my mistake. The number of ones in 2 is 10. I thought it was 11, so I was mistaken there. So the number of ones is 10, which is already odd, and this program is already executed. That is why this parity bit is 0, right? So thank you for pointing that out. Now here, let's begin from the very beginning. We have understood the carry flag, and you could also try the same program for subtraction. You will see that borrow flag, carry flag will act as borrow flag. You take numbers such that the number which is being subtracted is, having a value higher than that. So in that case, if it is necessary, some borrow will be taken and borrow. You can see that the carry flag will also be set there. So now another important point to notice, for addition, we have studied 2 types of command, ADD and ADI. Could somebody just point out the difference between ADD and ADI? We have done it in yesterday's lab.
Sir, ADD is used for register and ADI is used when we have to add immediate value.
Immediate data. Similar is the case with subtraction also. You have SUB and SBB, right? SUB and SUI, right? So similar is the case for subtraction, and these two are not the only combination of commands which are used for addition. We will see one more command, SBI, similarly ADI, and what is their meaning? It will become clear when we will study the complete command set, right? So auxiliary carry, zero and parity is understood. Now this is very important, right? So sign bit. Now sign bit is a little tricky issue. What do we expect is whenever the number is negative, which is kept in accumulator, the sign bit will be set. But here in 8-bit register, right, which has got no notion of having a sign bit, then how we will be representing negative numbers? Do you know any ways of representing the negative numbers? You might have read some ways of
Two's complement.
The two's complement.
Two's complement. Any other way? One's complement. In one's complement, can you represent negative numbers? Yes or no?
One edge most significant digit.
Yeah, there are various notations to represent a negative number in binary system. One of the simplest notation is you treat the MSB as representing the sign bit. If it is 0, the number is positive. If it is not 0, I mean if it is 1, the number happens to be negative. The simplest one. Then there is one's complement method, then there is two's complement method. So apart from these three methods, there are many methods in binary logic to to represent a negative number in form of registers. But our concern here is the two's complement method only. And since you have already named it, so I guess you are aware of it. So it will be easy for me to explain this example to you, right? So here we are studying the sign bit, how the sign bit is set and how the sign bit is used in conjunction with the carry bit, right? So we have got two numbers. We are in this program, what we are trying to do is we have two numbers in A and B registers, which happen to be 5 and 7, and simply we are subtracting it. And since the result will be -2, so we are going to see which bits will be set. Definitely sign bit will be set, but is it sufficient that if sign bit is set, then the purpose is done, or something else is required? So the answer is that something else will also be required, and that's what we are going to see. In conjunction with this sign bit, carry bit is also used sometimes. Now, the example that we are using here is this. We have a number 5, we have a number 7, and we are using two's complement method to subtract them. So this is number 1's binary representation, which is 5. This is number 2's binary representation, which happens to be 7. And we are trying to subtract them. So in two's complement method, how do we subtract two numbers? Can somebody just quickly give me an answer?
We find the two's complement and then add them. Like we find the two's complement by finding the one's complement and adding one.
Okay.
Then we add the two numbers.
Okay, that's correct. And then you add the two numbers. Then whatever is the result, it is accepted as it is, or there are some further rules to it. Yeah, tell me. After adding the two's complement of the subtracted number, the result that you get is the final result, or it is still unprocessed result? Somebody answered the previous question. Who was that?
So,
okay, Kundan. Yeah. Anyone else who wants to add to this? Okay, let me give you the answer. Might be it's a course which is more of a electronics and communication course, so you might have not brushed up those ideas. So understand this. And this much you already know, that if you want to subtract two numbers by using two's complement system, what you have to do is you have to take the first number as it is, take the two's complement of the second number and add it to the first number. I mean, subtraction is addition in two's complement, with the only condition that first number should be taken as it is in binary, but second number, instead of second number being taken as it is, you have to take the two's complement of the second number. So if two's complement of the second number is taken and added to the first number, the result that you will get will be as good as subtracting the two numbers in original form. Is it understood to begin with?
yes.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Now, the next thing is after the addition of 2's complement to the original number, the result that you get is still not the full processed result. There is some more processing required to be able to interpret the result. The result is correct, but the interpretation will be depending upon two different conditions. So that is what we are going to explore here. So number one, this is the actual process of subtraction. So I have taken the number one here as it is, which happens to be 5. And I have to take the 2's complement of the second number. How is 2's complement taken? First of all, you take 1's complement, then add 1 to it. This is a process of taking 2's complement. You take 1's complement of that number and then add 1 to it. Now, what is 1's complement? 1's complement of a number is you just flip every
Replace 0
digit of
with
any-
1 and 1 with
yeah,
0.
you just flip every digit, change every 0 to 1 and change every 1 to 0. So here, this will become 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, and this will become all zeros, 3 zeros will be there. But that is 1's complement. You have to further add 1 to it. So it will become this 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, then 0, 0, 1. So for 1's complement, this could have been 0, but if you added 1 more to it, then it becomes the 2's complement of the number, right? Now, number 1 is in its original form, number 2 is in its 2's complement form. You add both of them and you get some results. So this is the addition that I have got. I have marked it in red because I know for sure that this is not the result which I can directly interpret. So to interpret it, we have got two different conditions, right? So I will first of all list you the steps of all operations together with the conditions that we need to keep in mind. So at first, the 2's complement of subtractand is found, which we have already done. Subtractand means the number which is being subtracted from something. And then it is added to the minend. Minend means the number from which the number is being subtracted, right? So these two steps we have already covered. Now this is step number 3 and the step number 4 is for interpreting the result that you have got. So if the final carry over of the sum is 1, if the final carry over of the sum is 1, it is dropped and the result is positive. Means the result that you have got here, this red colored result, if it would have been like that you have got a carry out of the outermost position. I mean, you have added these two numbers. After adding these two numbers, if you get a carry out of the outermost position, that carry is discarded. It is of no use. And whatever you get here is the number and it is positive, right? This is one way. But that is not the case with what we have got here, right? We have got no carry out of this position. So this third step is equal to this particular thing. Fourth thing is applicable, which means if there is no carryover, I mean out of the MSB, we see that in our actual result, there is no carryover. The 2's complement of the sum will be the result. I mean, this is not the final result then. You have to take further 2's complement of it and the result is negative. I mean, whatever is the 2's complement, it is negative in nature. That is why you have to set the sign flag, right? You have to set the sign flag. So is this process understood to all of you? This third and fourth condition are very, very important to be able to interpret the results.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So now let us come to the program that we have made. We have done simple thing. We have kept 5 in A, 7 in B, subtracted them and then halted the system, executed the complete program, got the results. Now the results as you see here, they happen to be this. Now what is the value of all ones here? FF, I mean this 1, 1, 1, 1. 4 bits of 1 will make a F. And this 1, 1, 1, 0 will make what? E. Is it or is it not? Yeah. So you can see here the result in A is FE, right? And you can see here obviously the second case is applicable. That is why the result is not in its final form. So we need to have a method which will indicate that this result is not in its final form. Take its 2's complement. This should be indicated by something. And the second thing is this result is negative. You can see that there are two clauses in this. If there is no carryover, the 2's complement of the sum will be the result and it is negative. So there are two conditions which needs to be flagged. So the later condition, that is the result is negative, will be flagged by the sign flag. But who will tell me that the result that you have is not the actual result, you have to take the 2's complement of that. So in that context, this carry flag is also set. So carry flag has use for carry, borrow, and being used with the sign flag to indicate that you have to take the 2's complement of the result. Is it understood?
Yes.
Sign flag only indicates that the result that you have got in accumulator is negative. But if it would have been the case and we will not set the carry flag, this will mean that we have got the result as minus FE, which is not correct because 5 minus 7 has to be minus 2. So what you see here is this result, we should take the 2's complement of that, and to indicate that we use this carry flag, we set it as 1, and if it is ever set as 1 with the sign flag, it indicates that this the 2's complement of this number is to be taken. So for a naive viewer or for a layman, if carry flag is set, he will say that it is carry. It's not carry. There is a interpretation which is beyond the name of this flag, right? So this is a very important concept, and there will be definitely questions from it in your examination. So keep this concept in mind. So this is for the sign bit, right? And so we have completed all the flags registers that are available in our 8085 system: carry flag, auxiliary carry, zero, and parity. All of them were simple, except for this sign and carries combination when the subtracted number is being more than the actual number. Now, having understood this, let us now move on to another concept. First of all, we will see that HL register pair can be used as pointer. Now, in the next in the next program, we will see that BC register and D register can also be used to achieve the same thing, but not automatically, right? There is a specific command by which it will be done. So for that, I have made this simple program. So all of you can see this program. In this, what I am trying to do is, in BC register, I have kept a value of 0003, right? And in D register, I have kept a value of 0005. And my intention is in the memory, I have 0003 location and 0005 location. At those places, a value of 100 and 101 is already kept, right? So, no, at position number 003, 100 value is kept. And initially at position number 0005, this position was vacant. So my intention is to be able to read this number from 0003 inside the memory and add 1 to it and store it at 0005. Is the intention clear to everyone?
Yes.
Okay. So I could have done that through HL pair register. Could somebody tell me how? I could have done this through HL pair register. Can somebody just quickly tell me that simple program that you will make to do that? It's very simple. 0003 has a data of 100. I need to load it into the inside of the programming model, add 1 to it, and store 0005 to it. So could somebody just tell me orally that program, what program it would be?
Set HL to 0003 and
okay, wait a minute. Who's speaking? Whenever you speak, just tell me your name so that I can recall it. Prajwal is speaking.
Yes.
Okay, Prajwal, tell me.
Set H to 0 and L to 03 and move into AM, and then we can increment that, and then we can.
How do you increment that? By using which command?
ICR maybe.
No, not ICR. You can simply add 1. Na? As of now, I have not told you any increment command. It's actually INC, but you can simply add 1 to that number. ADI 01. It will add the immediate data to the accumulator and store the result in itself.
It was in the keypad.
Yeah, it was in the keypad. You have seen that. That's very nice. So there are various ways to increment 1. So that's correct way. And then after that, what you will do?
Then change L to 05 and then we'll load, store the data.
Store the data how? By using move m, a command, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So has everyone understood the program? Yes or no? Or should I write it on that software? Understood or no?
Yes, sir. Understood.
Okay, if it is understood, let me move forward because anyway we have done it in the previous laboratory session, so it should be already understood. So now we are going to do the same thing through BC register and DE register pair, right? So here is the simple program for that. First of all, I have kept in BC register 0003 so that I can take the data from that position. After adding 1 to it, I have to store it at 0005. So I have already pre-fed this DE register pair with 0005, right? Now, in HL pair register, if you keep some address, then automatically M register will be loaded with the value of that address, and you can copy it from that particular M register to the A register or whatever register you feel like, right? However, in the case of BC and DE register, there is no such M register, right? It's called as memory register. M register is called as memory register. So there is no such memory register, right? We have to do everything by using the default register, which is called as accumulator. And the command used there is LDAXB. Have we read LDA command earlier in the previous lab?
Yes,
Yes.
What is the
Yes, sir.
purpose of LDA?
Load into accumulator.
Load into accumulator some data. Where did it get the data from?
External
Memory.
External memory.
External interface.
But what do we write after LDA?
Address of that.
We
external
write
memory.
address. We write address, right? We write address of that memory location. So this command could be seen as a similar command, LDAXB. X means the register that you are using, it should be used with its pair. I mean, B is paired with C. B is not paired with any other register. If you see the programming model, B is paired with C. So BC register pair is the only pair that B can make, and in that order. You cannot have CB register pair even. You can always have BC register pair or DE register pair or HL register pair, right? So that's what pairing has to be done. So X indicates pairing, or X indicates a 16-bit operation, right? So LDAX will simply mean load the contents into accumulator, and from where you have to load it. Obviously, after LDA we used to write an address, but here we are using an X, which indicates that use the register pair that is associated with the first letter. So BC register pair will be taken, and whatever is the content inside that BC register pair, it will be treated as address. Is this command understood?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes.
so this LDAXB will load the contents which are pointed to by BC register pair into the accumulator. So LDAXB command has to be used. If it would have been the HL pair, we could use command simply move A comma M, right? So this is the difference, and that's why we do not call this BC register pair or DE register pair as pointer. And as per the intention we began with, we wanted to load the number from 0003 in the externally interfaced memory, increment it by 1. So the command for that is INRA. INR is increment. And I usually get confused between this INR and INC because in 8086 the equivalent command is INC. So you need to remember that in 8085 it has to be INR, right? So INR A will increment A by only 1, right? And if you want to store some data from memory, from within the microprocessor to the externally interfaced memory, what do we use? STA command. In the previous lab, we had used STA command. So this STAX command is a cousin command to that in the similar fashion as we had LDA, which is a cousin to LDAX. So what will STAX do? STAX will store the data from the accumulator to the external memory location, and the address of that will be taken from DE register pair because an X has been written after that. Is it understood?
Yes.
Okay, and then simply you have halted the system. So here yeah.
So please repeat the STX command.
Okay, so before understanding STAX, let us see at LDAX. What was the purpose of simple LDA? LDA used to load the memory, I mean some value from the externally interfaced memory. Where do you take that value from? From some external address. And where do you get that address from? that address is supplied after LDA. LDA, suppose you write 0005H. So from 0005H, accumulator will be loaded with the data content of that. But LDAX is the cousin of that, and it will do the same thing, but it will take the address from BC register pair. Why not only from B? Because an X has been placed here. So X indicates a 16-bit operand, or X indicates that you have to use this register in pair. So B will be used it with register pair. On the same notes, instead of loading, if you want to store, in place of LD, you use ST. ST is used for storage. Store the contents of the accumulator. If the command is not STAX, if the command is only STA, then you write STA0005H. So it will store the contents of accumulator onto the location 0005H. Whatever is placed in accumulator, it will be copied to the externally interfaced memory at 0005H. A similar command that you see here is STAX. Now you can keep the address in DE register pair, and at that particular address, you can copy the value of accumulator through this store command. So it is similar to LDX, just the operation is reverse. In place of LD, you have ST. So the data transfer will be from A register to the memory chip that you have. Understood?
Yes, sir. And sir, why did we incremented A?
Because that was our intention. Na? We said in the beginning of program that some data is loaded at 100 already. Some data is loaded at 0003. For the sake of illustration, we want to load it inside the microprocessor, add 1 to it to indicate that we can process it. And then after that, we have to store it at 0005, right? So is the program absolutely clear to everyone? And the difference between HL register pair as pointer and BC and D register pair as not pointers. Is this also clear to everyone?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So what is advantageous? Using HL register pair as pointer or using this BC and D register pair in this way?
HL.
Why? Why is it advantageous to use HL register pair as pointer?
Sir, it will automatically save it in M. We don't have to get specific commands for it.
Yeah. The first advantage is the easiness of use, right? Automatically, the data will be copied into M register and you don't have to use these specific commands for loading. But the bigger advantage is your accumulator is not involved when the data is copied through HL register pair as pointer. M register is involved. And since accumulator is already an overloaded fellow in this 8085 system, right? Accumulator is involved in default calculations, it is involved in default commands. So it is already an overworked fellow. So in a way, HL command does not involve this accumulator. And that is why, without disturbing whatever accumulator is doing, the data can be transferred safely, right? So it frees accumulator in some sense. So that is why it is also more advantageous to use that. Now, so this is the second concept that we, tell me.
Can we change C to C's value so that we can use B again to store, like, is it not like
Of
data?
course. You can change. I mean, if you see, if inside a loop you want to load multiple memory locations or you want to save to multiple memory locations, inside a loop, you can increment the value of this BC register pair as combined. So that is possible. Inside loops, you can increment or decrement whatever you want to do. Like the command that you have here is INR A. So it will increment the 8-bit register A. You could also write the command INX B. Since X is there, so it will increment the BC register pair instead of incrementing only B register. We will come to it when we will do some programming in laboratory. Understood? Okay.
Yes, sir.
So this was the second aim that we presented for today's lecture, and let me try to finish the last aim, which is some looping instructions in the last 4 minutes. We have already seen that in previous slide, but just, Anyone wants to say something? Okay, no. So let me just try to tell you the last program for looping. So let me just copy it in this simulator. Okay, I have opened something else, I think. Okay, you are always free to tell me when things are bouncing off your head and things become like You can always tell me that, okay, this much is sufficient for this lecture and we will grasp this and then we will move on to the next thing. Because for me, this is very trivial thing. I have been doing this through this since many years. So these things, they appear very simple to me. So whenever things get over your head, you can always tell me, right? Because for you, it's very new. But since you are CSIT people, I guess this is very trivial. So now, here, what I have done is, the intention is to tell you the usage of loop. And I have already told you the usage of loops by using JNZ statement, right? So here what we have done is, in HL register pair, we have started with address 0002. So in HL register pair, we have kept that so that memory register already contains what is presented 0002. And after 0002, till 6 locations, 6 next locations, I have filled some data. So I want to do some calculation with that. So I have initialized a counter. I have written wrong spellings. So I'm very weak at spelling. So you might find many spelling errors here and there. So in B register, or for that matter, you can take any register, I have initialized it by 6 to be used as the counter of the loop, right? So HL register pair has the base, the address from where I want to start, and that is 0002, and 6 locations after that we have fed some data into the memory. So you can place it here. I will populate it now, right? So what my intention is, I have designed a loop. All of you know what is the usage of this label. I have told you this in the previous laboratory, that label is just like a bookmark, right? It is not something which is executed inside a code. We will talk more about label when we will further have some laboratory sessions. But for now, label is just another name for this particular line, move a comma m. So I have defined label 1 here, and what it is doing, it is taking the data from this location 0002H into the A register, right? And what I intend to do is, let me just keep this data here. First of all, let us take some data here, and let me keep 1 here. Okay, since only 1 minute is left, I will just explain you the program. You can just run it and save it. So from location number 2 to 6 next locations, that is till location number 7, you can keep some data here. And the intention of this program is to add up all those data and store it at some other location, right? So that's what we are going to do here. So first of all, the data is loaded into the accumulator register, and then E register, which is by default initialized with 0, we have added that content of accumulator to E. So the result will be in accumulator, and we copied it to E register again, so that the final result is stored in E register. Then I have incremented L because I want to increment this HL register pair combined. So I have incremented L because I only have to go to 6 next locations. So it will not consume this H register. So I have incremented this L register. Then again, inside this A register, I have moved the contents of B register. B means this 6. 6 has to be decremented by 1 because already the loop has been run once. So subtraction operation I have to apply. So I have moved B to A, and then SUI 01H. So 1 has been subtracted from 6, it becomes 5. And then it has been again stored to B, so that the counter is now 5 in B. And then jump not 0. Until this B becomes 0, we have repeated the same operation. So that way this operation will be done, and E will finally have the data, that is the addition of all of these. And you can write few more lines to be able to store that to some other locations, right? Yeah, I have written those lines here. So in the last, you can just take these lines to store that result to some position this way. So at 000DH, I want to store my data. So I will copy it from E to A and then store it at 000DH. So is this program understood? We have done a looping kind of program on the last term. So this is just to illustrate the concept of looping formally. Is this understood by everyone?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, so, sir. I have one doubt.
Yeah, please tell me.
Sir, how the processor know that jump not equally to 0 is applicable to B register?
Because
if somehow other register also become 0, then
yeah, I'm telling you the answer to that. It's a very valid and good question. How will the processor know that it has to look for B register? So it's not that the processor will be looking for B register. Whenever jump not 0 command is executed, it will just look at the previously executed statement. What is previously executed or calculated statement? Is it move B comma A or is it SUI 01H? What is it?
SUI 01H.
Yes, so it will just look for the previously calculated command which happens to be SUI 0H, because this zero flag or this zero flag will be set only when the result of this execution is there. If you copy a data of 0 into accumulator, zero flag will not be set, right? So it will look for the previously executed command, not in terms of data transfer. So this move B comma A will not be looked. SUI 01H will be looked, and SUI 01 will be applicable to A register, not B register. Is it understood?
Yes, sir.
So
thank you, sir.
Even then, it is not looking for A register. It is looking for this zero flag, right? Zero flag will be set or reset when A register, after performing some operation, gets a zero value. So this command JNZ is not looking for either A register or B register. It is looking for setting of this bit. And this bit can be set by which command? Move B comma A or SUI 01H? Obviously SUI 01H, because we have discussed that data movement commands will not change the value of these flag registers. So this was a very good question to point out, and probably the things are now more clear to you, although I was supposed to discuss that in laboratory, but anyway, I have taken 3 extra minutes, so I apologize for that, but then it was necessary. So is it understood to everyone?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yes, so I'm closing the lecture, and you all people please save my number, and if you have any doubts you can ping me anytime. You can WhatsApp your doubts to me, and whenever I find time I will be giving the answers to that, or maybe in the next lecture. So I've already given my number to everyone. In case you don't have my number, I'm typing it here, so you can just copy it. I'll type it in this file so that you can all see it. The number is 947-957-1037. So you can copy this number and save it in your mobile phones, because sooner we are going to have some more rigorous programming sessions. So you will always find some errors in your codes. And from the experience of my last code, people have a habit of asking doubts at 2 o'clock in night. So I'm available at that time also. So always WhatsApp me your concerns. You will always be getting an answer whenever it is possible for me, right? So, okay. So I'm closing this lecture for today. If there are any doubts, send me on WhatsApp.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank
Thank
you,
you,
sir.
sir.